Now we're live on YouTube, and I can see YouTube now. Hopefully that works. There we go. I see us on YouTube. So hello everybody out there on YouTube. Hello everybody on Facebook. Join us in the Zoom room if you like. The link is in the video description if you're on YouTube. I'm pretty sure Rob already did that. If check the comment section on Facebook, he probably throws it there. Yeah, tonight we have something simple that we want to kind of go through with everybody, which it seems pretty simple, but actually it's a whole lot more complicated than it ever used to be, because there's a lot more to shortcut keys and key bindings in xLights than there had ever been before. And I spent a good deal of time today kind of brushing up on the experiences of using these shortcuts and so forth, which I use my shortcut keys every day whenever I'm sequencing. But the difference is that there's so many more functions that are attached to the key binding dialog box that I really never sat down and worked through a lot of the things that are in there. So I will say this. I will say that I spent some time following through with some of Scott Hansen's videos, because Scott added some additions into this. And now my phone's going to start dinging, so I'm going to shut that off. So a number of other things begins to happen whenever you start opening things up that you haven't looked at for a long time. You start finding new features that have been added, and what I want to do is I want to go through all of the things that I picked up today, as well as the things I've learned, and some other things that you may not know about the key bindings. So I guess where you want to start would be to sit there and say, well, what is a key binding? I've never heard them called key bindings. I always heard them called either hotkeys or shortcut keys for your keyboard. And if you're right-handed, and see, I'm left-handed, so I use my mouse with my left hand, and my right hand is free for me to use the keyboard rather simply. I've got the whole thing over here, but I have direct access to with my right hand to the number pad, and I never have to take my hand off from the number pad. But what's also nice is that I can always quickly jump over to my typeset, the QWERTY keyboard, and just jump in and just hit a shortcut key or whatever. So it's rather fast for me, and I never have to take my hand off the mouse. So if you're right-handed, that's kind of a hindrance. You always have the mouse in your right hand, and then you have to jump from your mouse over to the keyboard to use it, unless you're using your left hand, of course, to make those key movements. But I always thought it was kind of neat that we had some very simple and very basic shortcuts that are built into xLights. Let me get a demo screen right up here on the screen for you here. So we should have, there we go. Let me share my screen in Zoom. Share screen, this one right here. There we go. So y'all should be seeing my xLights screen here, and this layout. This is nothing fancy. I just threw a matrix in here. This is literally something to test out with tonight, so you can see the basics of the xLights key bindings. So let me make a little quick adjustment there. Put my head away from where it ended up. Okay, so if we go into the sequencer, and now if you're following along from the beginning of the year, when we started out the year, one of the first webinars that we've done was we went through all of the icons that go right across the top of the screen here. Now, a lot of those icons, maybe you used them or maybe you didn't use them, but they all have a reason or purpose for being there or living up there where they do, and you can check out that video. It was also a live stream as well. But what I wanted to kind of do was I started dropping into the file menus, the different menus that are up here, and kind of poking into this. And this, whenever I opened it up the other day, I said, you know, what's the next thing that I want to talk about? And I'm like, well, let's just go through the file menu. Well, if you watched the last week's video, we already went through and showed you how to create a new sequence. We already walked you through the opening sequence or opening recent sequences. Some of those options, well, actually, there's a couple options in there. And whenever I got down to it, I'm like, what could I really spend some good amount of time and talk about was the key bindings. And so that's where this video today is coming from. It's not because we're going to go through all of these. We'll get to all of these eventually, but the key bindings really deserves its own video because there's so much that's packed into it. Now, suffice to say, key binding is nothing more than a shortcut key, as I said before. But this function in xLights 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 did not exist. There was no, there was none of this until Keith decided. I think it was Keith. I'm pretty sure. I stand corrected if I am wrong. I'm pretty sure Keith added in the functionality to adding key bindings, and I remember him specifically going in and adding a bunch of just extra functions, and then that extra function turned into an entire dialog, which you can get to by clicking the key bindings function set right here. So why is the edit key bindings or the dialog box here important? Well, because it has a number of additional functions, and it breaks down quite nicely, as a matter of fact. It breaks down what the basics are for xLights. So in other words, xLights had some basic standard shortcut keys. And they may have or may not have been expanded thanks to xLights seeing my current directory. But whenever you download xLights, there was a number of, let's say, effects or whatever that didn't have like a direct shortcut key. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to, because I didn't jump on my laptop and go figure this out. But there are some basic xLights shortcut keys that you can press to get you some basic effects to whenever you're in the sequencing screen. But if you want to edit them and give it your own personalization, like there's effects that you're going to use more often than others, then you can customize these, and that's why it's important to understand where this is. So first off, whenever you open this up, you're going to have a number of effects that are available to you. You can add your effect here. You can click Add Effect, and it will pop up another line closer to the bottom here, and it'll say Add Effect, and then it will have this line here at the bottom. Well, we'll go ahead and do that. Hit Add Effect, and then what you do is you select your shortcut key, and you assign it your shortcut key. And typically these are all lowercase. All the lowercase regular keyboard locations. And once you select it, now I'm just going through this quick. Once you select it, if you want to use the capital and actually capital S is a bad one, we'll use Y. And we'll hit Shift, and Shift with a Y is a capital Y. So basically make it capital Y. If you use capital Y, it will put down this effect that you want to turn on. So right now it has selected the on effect. Okay, well, we can change the effect to whatever effect is available here in the drop down. So before the old way that we had to go in and edit any kind of key binding, the old way to do it was you did it in the XML, or you opened up Notepad++, which we can do, which we are going to do, because there's usefulness in being able to do that. I thought I had it ready, but I didn't. Let me zip over there real quick to the key binding page. Let's see. Desktop, and this one, and key bindings and RGB effects. Okay, so here is the directory that we're working in right now. You can clearly identify your key binding file by looking for the XML document right here. And if you right click and you edit, you can edit if you have Notepad++ installed on your computer. The coders like to use this because you can open up some different things and figure things out and stuff with Notepad++. It gives a nicer kind of format to look at. But if you don't have Notepad++, and it's a free program, you can download it. You can open this with WordPad or Notepad. That's what you could open it with. And this was the original way that average person like me would edit an XML to add in a key binding. So what you would do is you would come in here, and there were only a handful of these that were originally coded into xLights. But the nice thing is that over time you can grow these. Now I have a feeling that xLights has a copy of this somewhere, and it just copied this to the new directory that I was working in. But like I said, not all of them may be assigned for you, but you can quickly create your own key bindings. Now here's the downside. Here's the downside to trying to create shortcut keys for all of the effects. And really quickly, it's not going to be hard to understand why, but if you notice across the top of your screen here, these are all of the effects that xLights has. You have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 32, 34, 36, 38, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52. Okay, so you have 52. That means there's 26 effects. And now the thing to remember is that you have 26 letters in the alphabet. And if you have an uppercase and lowercase key binding that's assigned to these, then guess what? You're good to go. But the problem is that there are some keyboards key bindings that are already preset with some different functions. And one of those is the letter S, which I mentioned earlier. The letter S is a split, or it splits, it puts a timing mark wherever if let's say you're working here and you have let's see, timing. Okay, I'm here and I hit the letter S, it splits the timing and puts a timing mark exactly where this is. So that's a shortcut key that's built into xLights. It's the default setting. And I believe you can change it if you want to, but I've gotten so used to that. That's the way it is. I always think of spirals as capital S, or lowercase s, that is, but it's actually capital S that I have to remember, because that's how xLights hard-coded. If we go down here, key bindings, capital S, this says spirals, and that's how you know it's spirals. And so back in the good old days, this is how you created your key bindings. Was you copy and pasted one of the ones that already existed, and then if you were making it a capital letter, for example, the capital T, I have twinkle. Maybe that was or wasn't an automatic one, but in any event, if I wanted to make a letter, I had to a letter, I had to come down here and I had to change true or false to the shift. And if it's a capital, it has to be true, and if it's not a capital, if it's a lowercase, it can be false. If you use the control key for some of these, you have to change them to true, because you can only use one key one time. But there's a control, a shift, and an alt, and those are all functions that are built in so that you can use multiple keys multiple times for different shortcuts. So that's the fun in trying to understand exactly what the key bindings dialog box does for you. It really is helpful to have this here. So here's our effect. We use the letter Y, the uppercase letter Y, and we have the on effect placed on it. So if we it's not going to work because we have something else that has the letter Y on it. But keep in mind that, as you can see, there's punctuation, there's slashes and dashes, and different characters on the keyboard are also up for grabs whenever it comes to using some of these. So when you have 26 effects, or 52 effects in xLights, and you're trying to get a useful letter for each one of them, and then you keep in mind too that you have different effects like shader, shapes, shimmer, shockwave, single strand, sketch, and so forth. There's only 2 letter S's. So you have to be creative in how you come up with a letter that identifies certain things for you in a manner that will be something that's useful for you down the road whenever you're trying to remember what letter it is a sequence with, or to jump to be able to quickly jump to it. So with that being said, I want to scroll up here and I want to show you this. The nemesis that I have constantly, because I always forget it, it's meteors. I always forget the capital Y is meteors. Always. And I have to, and there's a problem with me remembering that. I don't know why, but I always forget it. So if I come over here and I hit Shift and capital Y, that should be meteors. And there you can see the meteors going on the mini matrix. So that's kind of nice. But what happens if you forget, just like I said? Well, so if we go over here to the help drop down, we also have what's called the key bindings data list. So this is, without going into your key bindings, you can use this kind of a shortcut type thing. And if any of the developers are listening, maybe you could add the scroll wheel for the mouse to this screen. That would be nice. Just a comment. But in any event, you can scroll up and down through here and find the meteors. Meteors is under, it's under lowercase v. So let's try lowercase v and see if that works. No, that's VU meter. I don't know why that's on there twice. But we can go back and change that. So, again, it's kind of helpful to be able to set up your, to come in here to open up and start setting up your effects with specific letters that make sense to you. So maybe you want to change some of the ones that are already there. You can certainly do that. But I just built what was off of the basic ones that xLights had already, and I added in all the ones that I already had. So you can see, for example, you have Galaxy and Garlands. Those are your capital G and your lowercase g. I don't want to go through all of these, but there are certainly some helpful ones. There's a couple that are going to blow your mind a little bit, and the reason that they're kind of odd is because, like I said, they're pre-built into xLights. So if you hit the lowercase letter O or the uppercase letter O, so there's the lowercase letter O right here. This is the on effect, right? And now if you come over here and we hit Shift O, which is capital O, that is your off effect. Okay, so both are useful. I use these very, very frequently whenever I'm programming. But there's also this one, the letter D. If I hit the lowercase letter D, we have the down. Okay, if I hit the lowercase letter U, I have up. So these are fade down and fade up. And that's a shortcut key that you can literally click on to, boom, instantly take you. And why this is important, and this is why it's important, that you can create an effect with some presets, settings in it, that get you started with an effect. And that's something that you can add in. Though I messed around with a little bit. It was interesting to use, but the only thing I see challenging about using that. So we'll go in and we'll walk you through it. Let's see, key bindings again. So unfortunately, I can't go from one to the other. What I could do is have a second instance of xLights over here, let's say. And then I can bring that in whenever there's something that I want to show you. But in any event, you've got a couple different options as far as effects go. You can fill up all the effects on there, and keep in mind that you can use them in any manner that you want. The other options that you have is you can add presets. So I was talking about this. So if we add a preset, what happens is xLights will look inside your preset folder that's in your XML from your layout, and it will save a preset as a shortcut key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple layers to this, insert multiple layers below, 5 we'll say, and we'll just do a pinwheel, and we'll do another pinwheel, and we'll make it go the other way, and we'll change the color. So there's our amazing preset effect. To create a preset or to save a preset, you have to select the effects you want to click on your effects preset menu. If you don't see these buttons, click and drag the box out bigger because sometimes it doesn't scale correctly and you don't see all the boxes. And then you click new preset here. And so we'll do pinwheels. And now you have your preset effect. It's saved in your preset folder that's attached to your xLights XML document. And we'll go ahead and click OK. Now it's saved there. Now anytime you create a preset, keep in mind that you have to click Save on your layout because that's how the layout remembers that it has that preset. Now let's go back into our key binding file. Let's go back here, click on key bindings, scroll all the way down, and we have this effect, and we should be able to let's see. Oh, that's the effect. Let me add preset. That's what I was on. Let's do this and Shift and Control. So if I hit Shift and Control and this bracket, left bracket here, that should be my preset setting to hopefully lay this down. So here's the and so if I always want to use this preset a lot, like I make this formation a significant number of times, this is helpful. So let's go ahead and test it out, right? So let's save it. So we have to save it. If we don't, then it doesn't work. And bracket, and we're going to do Control and Shift, and that's our shortcut. So if we go over here and we hit Shift, Control, and bracket, and it doesn't want to do it. It might be a bug. But so this is probably the one thing whenever I was messing around with this that I had trouble with, and to be honest, the reason why I considered it as interesting because you could do it as a preset on the keyboard, but I see it's more helpful if I have my preset effects here anyway. You have, because Scott spent the time to create your preset effects here, so you could always apply the preset from this location. So that's obviously easy to do as well. So it shows that it should work. It should be available to you. I wasn't able to get it to work. So I wanted to kind of get that one, out the door and out the way because, and I'm sure somebody will come along and say, Clyde just screwed up. Well, life goes on. That's the one I had trouble with. Now, what I will say is I did have a lot of fun messing around with this one. So this add apply settings. What does this do? Add apply settings is a nice function for whenever you're using the key bindings to apply certain settings to an effect after you put it down or placed it. So for example, I don't know how many people out there that are watching that enjoy sequencing the way that I do, but for a lot of effects, I use a lot of transitions, and while I don't typically, pretty much every effect that I put down has some sort of transition time on it. So whenever I take the time to make those transitions, it's a little bit of work. So let's say I put the single strand effect down. Okay, boom, that's no problem. I have my layer blending tab up here. I can scroll up here and I can come up here. And again, I'm right-handed. Or I'm left-handed, so my right hand is on the number pad at all times. I can type a number 1.05, and there's my in transition, or I can have whatever my transition is. I can manually do this. It's not a big deal, but wouldn't it be nice to have a shortcut key? And I'll put a couple more timings down here, and we'll put the pinwheel. I'm using shortcuts here. Pinwheel, timing, and pinwheel. Okay. Wouldn't it be interesting if we could just select an effect, hit a shortcut key, and it automatically adds a preset time to it? And so this is what I got to spend the day doing earlier today. And I did this already in my other version of xLights. But I'm going to show you how I did what I'm going to do. So we've got these set up. They're ready to go. But I'm actually going to jump over here and do it on this screen because this is already set up for this. So let's put those timing marks in. Boom. Here we go. We have garland. We'll say we have spirals, and we'll say we'll have VU meter, and then we have M for morph. Okay. Here's what's really cool. Whenever you create some of these, what's really cool is that you can click on one, and I have a shortcut for a transition out. Now these are little tiny. A transition out, and look at the times here as I click on them. Transition out is at 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, or 1.0. And those are your out times. So I set those up as a control plus the number 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I also set this up so that if I click on the effect, I can hit Control 5, which is a 0.1 or a 0.25 transition in. Number 6 to be a 0.5 transition in. Now I could obviously figure out what type of transition and add that in here. I believe that's because it's an effect setting that we're editing. But I can now go do this to all of them. Control 1 and Control 5, and there's my fade in and fade out for this effect now. And I am now to be sure. I could come over here and do this one time, and now I come up here and I can right-click, bulk edit, enter. Out transitions, right-click, bulk edit. Okay. And so now it's applied across all of them. But it all depends on what I'm trying to do at different times. But most of the time, I need that 0.25 as a fade-in or 0.5 as a transition. Those are my two most commonly used transition times. So I spent some time finally to set this up. Now I knew this was in xLights, but this definitely is something that I do quite often. And this is what I'm going to get to showing you how to do for yourself. So basically what you need to do is you need to start with the on effect. Okay. And why do we start with the on effect? Because the on effect is the most basic. And I'm stealing this from Scott because Scott posted this in his video, so I give him full credit for this. But I'm using the on effect because there's going to be less code for us to look at and get right to finding the code that's important to what we needed to place in the data to apply it to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a 0.25 fade in transition, and then I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy. And so when you copy an effect, it's actual physical data that you can open up in, say, Notepad++ or Notepad, just in general. If I have, let me open up Notepad on my other screen real quick. Notepad++. There we go. Okay, so here's Notepad++. I copied from xLights. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to paste from xLights. And what we'll find is here is the name of the effect, and you see how it says T_text control _ fade in equal 25. That's exactly the information that xLights is looking for whenever you are doing the transition fade in or transition fade out. So I'm going to copy this, right-click, copy. Now, I'm going to get out. I've obviously selected that first. And so now I know what the fade-in is. Now let's go assign it in the key bindings. So if we go into the key bindings here, we scroll all the way to the bottom, and let's go to apply setting. And if we click on a key, let's use the number 1 because that's going to be easy for me to quickly jump to. There we go. I just hit the number 1. Now let's go with control as one of the keys that we need to hit. Because if you activate the number 1 and you use it as shortcut key in xLights, you can't use that key whenever you're typing, let's say, in the text effects. So that's important. Maybe they don't know that. Maybe they do. I don't know. But I'm using the control. You can use alternate. You can use the shift key. But those are the three. I believe this raw control, that's the Mac OS control button. So if you're on Mac, you can use that setting as well. And then you have effect settings. So what we want to do here is we want to paste in the exact fade in time. So this is the text or the coding that xLights has that it needs to apply to the effect. So we'll go ahead and click save. And so now we know if we hit 1 plus control, that's going to apply a setting to an effect. So we'll save that and close that, and we'll come over here and try it. So hopefully hit control and the number 1, and there we go. We've added in a fade in. Now, guess what? Arbitrarily, that number can be anything you want it to be. If the effect's long enough, you could have it 3 seconds. You can have it like this effect. If you look down here at the bottom of the screen, it'll tell you how long the effect is, 1.9 seconds. So so you can, obviously, you can go back into the key bindings. Now, you're not going to, obviously, I'm doing this for demo purposes, right? It's faster for you to manually type it in. But you know that you could increase that to any number here. So you can change this to whatever you need it to be. If you find, oh, I need a lot of the number 1 second or 1.5. In my case, I use 0.25 and 0.5 the most. 0.75 and then 1.0 are commonly used, but not as commonly used for me. So, but I did add them. If you need like 3 seconds and 4 seconds, those are kind of not as to me, they're not as useful, because I'm only going to use those at the very beginning of a song or the very end of a song. So, but at the same token, if you use it, then by all means, you can come in here, change this, and edit it to update for what you need it to be for. So this was a lot of fun trying to figure this one out and working through this. If we want to do another one, we can always come in here, do another one, hit Control V to paste, and we can change this to 1.25. So we can save that, and if we change this, let's hit a key, number 2, and the Control key, and now we'll hit save and close. And if we come over here and we click on this one, and then we hit Control 2, now this is a transition time in of 1.25. So you can do this to a lot of the effects. Let's try something else, because if you get into doing some interesting things, let's do this. Create group. Yeah, let's just call it the hello group. Why not? And then we come into display elements. We need to bring that over here. And I did it off the screen, which, there we go. All I did was went into display elements and I grabbed the hello group and put it over here. Bam. Group is over there now. And if we happen to have, let's do our on effect. Let's get rid of our transition, and let's do this. Let's go over and look at our different render styles. And what if we had overlay centered, or no, overlay scaled? Let's do scaled. Okay. What we can do now is we can hit Control C to copy, or right click to copy, and then let's go back into Notepad. Okay, I'm going to enter a couple rows down. And if we look over here, we have buffer style. It says B choice buffer style equal overlay dash scaled. So what if I copy that here? Copy, and let's go back in. We can come in here and I actually do use the overlay scaled a significant amount of time. Oop, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. Key bindings, we come down here and let's add apply settings, and let's use the number 3, Control, and Control V to paste. Hopefully, I didn't try this, but it should work. It should work. We'll go ahead and save it and close it. So if we come over here, we select a totally different effect. We'll just grab this. It doesn't have the default, but if we hit Control 3, oh wait, it's on the matrix. It's not going to do it. We have to be on the group. See, we're on the group now. Control 3. It doesn't want to work. I thought it would work. I might be doing it wrong too, so oh well. Let's go ahead and look at that one more time. overlay. Maybe it doesn't need all those spaces. On B choice. So the other one was T text fade in. Let's look at the key binding and see if I did that right, because I might not have done it right. Key bindings, scroll down, B dash choice, buffer style overlay dash scaled. And I deleted off the extra at the end. There's nothing at the beginning. Save it, close. So take that off of there, because I saw that you possibly could do this. I'm testing it. There, see, there it played it, overlay scaled. So if I come over here and I put the spirals down, it's under the default, and we do Control 3 overlay scaled, it scales. It changes the render style buffer. So that's what it was. So when I copied it, my error was I copied all the way. I copied these extra 2 spaces, and those spaces aren't necessary. So that was my bad. I screwed up. But at least I figured it out, and that might be why the that would be why they it didn't work last time. So that's kind of interesting. So now, if I've shown you a couple things that I've played around with, and these by all means take time to set up. I am the most excited about using the effects settings, because I know Scott made this a couple years ago, and I'm finally going to jump in and start using them. But I can tell you that they're definitely useful, because being able to easily add something just with a click of a button on your hand without moving the mouse to find the exact setting that you're looking for, that's definitely useful. Especially whenever it comes to transitions. So whenever I can click on this and I can just add Control 1, and boom, it adds a transition in. Now, again, I'm going to do this here, transition out, I think, 0.5. Let's go ahead and copy this effect. Copy. Let's go back into Notepad++, and let's just look at the difference. So if we paste this, it says overlay scaled, T underscore text control underscore fade out 5. So the text is actually the same. The only difference is the fade out is a fade in whenever you look up here at the fade in. That's the only difference between those two. So if we wanted to do a 0.5 fade out, we could go back into our file. We can come in here to key bindings, scroll down. We can click on to this here. We could highlight it, copy it, Control C, which I didn't do off of the other one. We can add apply settings. We can do number 4, and we can do Control, and then we can Control V. And instead of fade in, we can say fade OUT. So, and let's change this to 0.75. So that's different because we haven't done any of those. Save, close, and let's grab this effect here, Control and number 4, and there's your shortcut key that just added that transition out, which is different than what we had done for the in transition. So there's literally no limit to what effect settings you can do. You're limited by the number of keys on the keyboard that you are able to click and activate them to. So that's what I found the most interesting today, was being able to easily add those and utilize them whenever you're doing your sequencing and programming. Now, let me go back through, and I'm going to open this up again, and I'm going to go through and share some functions that are available that maybe you're not aware of. The shortcut keys that have been added into xLights. Again, mine aren't going to look like yours. You might have to build yours. I've already built mine. I started building mine years ago. But you can begin building your own, ones that make logical sense to you. Again, I spent a lot of time with the effect settings, and I've already done a lot of those. But there's a lot of these that Keith spent a lot of time adding in so that xLights could recognize a key binding for it. So some of those are, if you want to select all, Control and A, if you hit the Control A button, I think this is built into xLights, that selects all the effects on the screen. So if we come over here, this is where it's useful to have two versions of xLights. Control and A, that just selected, you see how they're all kind of purpley pink color there. That selected all of the effects at that for those specific time for the specific sequence for the view that you're on. You have select all. I don't know what it means by timing. I've never tried that. So Shift Control and A. It selects all the effects and all the timing. Shift Control A. It grabs everything. Now watch this. You can unselect and you can come to the edge, let your mouse hover over top of that, and you can grab this and look, you can move your timing marks and your effects with it and reline them up. That's kind of interesting. That might be helpful for some people. So yeah, there's that. Color toggle. Well, what would color toggle be? Well, color toggle would be the ability to toggle your color box here. So this box here, if you didn't need this screen open all the time, then or felt like you didn't need it all the time, you could set it up to toggle to turn on and off. So now you have a couple other ones here. Display elements toggle. Now I don't have them set. So see how they're not set? There's no function in here for me to go and show you how to do that. So I haven't set it up. But that's one of the things that you can do. You can have your display elements toggle on and off. So what is the display elements? Well, your display elements is this icon right here with this box. And so if you use display elements, I like to use the icon because I don't have to remember a shortcut key for it. So when Scott added this, I think Scott added this, or no, that's been there for a while. Display elements have been there for a while. But this is just another way for you to jump in and figure out which functions are in xLights. So this is your effects toggle. So you can you have an effects dropper, which I don't use it because the effects dropper is up here to me, but you can go to View, Windows, and Effects Dropper, and I don't know where, there it is. So that would be the effects dropper window that you could toggle in and out, but I don't use it, so because you have this up here. So you have align both, align end, and align start. These are really, really, really interesting because I was playing with these today. If you're not aware, and so this is how I used a shortcut key to bring up my presets. So whenever I hit Control P and I've assigned it, that's my preset effects. So there's a couple of effects. They're kind of offset. It's a morph that I created a number of years ago. I don't always use things like this, but sometimes I'll throw them in whenever I'm sequencing because they kind of fit the music and so forth. But with that being said, we can select these effects and just like it said, I'm going to try to drag this off the screen. There we go. And then we can read this as it goes. See how it says effects toggle, align both, align end, align start. Now, I've already done that on my version over here, key bindings. And I did a alternate B for both, Y for E for end, and S for start. So alternate B, they should all, let me screen capture that real quick. When in doubt, you just use your screen capture. And I got it up there. Okay, so we'll close this because you can't activate a preset or a shortcut key whenever the key bindings is open. So I'm going to try this. I had mostly good success, but sometimes it wasn't working. So I want to use alternate and B, and that should align both. Alternate and B. And there, it just aligned all of them together from start to finish. Now that's pretty nifty and amazing. Now let's go back, undo that. We'll select them all again. And what we'll do is we'll align the end. So that's alternate E, alternate and E, bam. So it just aligned all the end times together. and alternate S, make sure they're selected. Alternate S aligns all the start times together without touching the ends. So if you're trying to mess around with certain things in xLights, this is one of the neat little things, and I do use this a lot. You can already do this in xLights, but it's a little bit more complicated. You have to select the effect that you want to model everything off of, and you want to click and drag first, and then you want to hold the shift key down and click on the one you want it to model. So let's say we want it to model this one here. We right click and we use this alignment function. And this is built into xLights. If you haven't seen this in one of the other videos I did a while back, you can align your start times, align your end times, align both. So those are the ones that's exactly the same thing. The only difference is that being able to select it, Control and B, is that what it was? B. Was it Control or alternate B? There. That's B. It does the same thing. So now I didn't have to go through all of those menus just in order to get that to work the way that selecting, clicking, right click, alignment, and this, and getting to this screen. That's a little bit. It's doable, and I do use match duration a lot. Whenever I have things set up like that. So that's a nice little function in the shortcut key bindings. You also have, let's see, the effects, the assist toggle, and I have that set up as E plus Control. If I come over here, what's that? E, Control, lowercase e, bam. And what that is, the effect assist window. And this is the one that Scott made. Scott made the effects assist icon. So I don't use that very much anymore, although that is very useful for the morph effect. In this version of xLights, though, the effects assist is kind of broken, and I believe they've already fixed it. So there's that. Let's go back over here and show you a couple more that I found very interesting. You can have your effects settings toggle, or your settings toggle, your preview toggle open and close. You can have insert layer above and insert layer below. Boy, do I use the crap out of this. I set my control for my control key and plus the lowercase u for up and D for down. And if I want to add layers quickly into xLights, all I do literally is I click on a row or a cell and I hit Control U for up. Now it's adding them up above. Bam, there's a bunch of layers. And now if I want to add, and I'll put the on effect here so you can see it go down. And Control D for down. Whoops. Control U for up. Control D for down. There you go. And you can see that I never have to go over here. Now, this isn't hard. Right-click, insert multiple layers below, add like 3 or 4 or 10 layers or whatever it is that you want. You certainly can do that. Now, I'll go ahead and delete unused, and now those are gone. So that's probably one of my favorite ones, that whenever I saw that, Keith added that, I thought that was a fantastic addition, and I use it all the time now. Jukebox. Jukebox is a function in xSchedule, or xLights, that allows you to use 2 versions of xLights together and give you shortcut keys to do live performances. And the shortcut for that one is the jukebox toggle is Control J, which I haven't used in a long time, so we'll see if it still works. There it is. It opened up over here. There's the jukebox toggle, so it toggles it in, and Control J should... Is that what it was? Control J? Yeah, so it doesn't toggle it off. It just brings it up. So it opens it up for you and brings it up. It doesn't take it away, though. So there's the jukebox. Most people aren't going to use that, but for those of us who've used xLights Live and have learned how to do that, it's quite helpful in a number of settings. Layer blending toggle, layer setting toggle. So those are your layer blending and layer settings box. That's this layer blendings, layer settings over here. Those 2 boxes can be toggled. Let's look, and we see lock effect. Now, I've never used this, but basically you can lock any effect by right-clicking and lock. You can make a shortcut key for this. Now, what's the reason that you would want to lock an effect? Well, if you've already set up an effect that you like and you don't want to move it, you can bulk edit them and lock effects, and that way you can't accidentally bump them and move them. But I think you can change them and edit them, which I just changed that morph effect. It's not nice and pretty like it had been. I just undid it, but you can make changes to the effect. You just can't move them. Shouldn't be able to move. Oh, I just unlocked it. That's why. Control Z, lock it. Okay, now they're locked, and now I can't grab them to move them. So, yeah, but apparently if you hit Control Z, that unlocks them. See how it says locked? You have to unlock it. Now it can move. But there you go. Moving on. So we have some model preview toggles. That's, I mean, obviously your model preview is this preview right here. You have a perspectives toggle. Perspectives is this box right here that will activate that. I have it as listed as lowercase L and Y. I'm sorry, lowercase L and control. Control lowercase L. And you can't see it, so let me do that again. There we go, over here. Lowercase L. Oh, well, maybe it's I. Not sure. Well, doesn't say. Maybe I have to get rid of it. Let's see if it. Oh, control or alternate I. That's set up for choose file to import. So right before we got started, I think Rob asked the question: are you going to show them how to import quickly? Well, there's how you import quickly. So it looks like alternate I is your import effects. Control or alternate I takes you to your import, and if you hit the enter button, that brings up your import menu. So that's a function. Let's go ahead. Again, I really never messed around with that. I really didn't need the perspectives toggle. So you have the function to save sequence as, which in other words, save it as a new name. Control S. If you hit Control S, that will save your sequence, Control S. Now, this one hasn't been saved before, so I could give it a name and save it and so forth, but I'm not going to do that. So Control S is your save. I use that all the time. Search toggle. So here, if you wanted to, you could open up Scott's handy dandy tools, or I'm sorry, View, Windows, Search, Effects. I'm sorry, I hit Select. View. Yeah, that's what it was. Select Effects. And you could bring this. You could add this to your toggle to open it up and make it available. So this is Scott's Select Effects dialog. xLights. He has xLights scan the sequence for different options or different effects, and then it tells you all the options of those specific effects, which effects are there and used, and you can come in here quickly, and once you select them, maybe you need to make a change to, let's say you need to make a change to the color, and you only need to do it for just that one effect. Maybe we're adding green to it. So that would be this one here. So we were messing around with one of them there. So that's the select effect is really nice because you can select a number of things. Maybe you need to do a bulk edit on them all. Maybe you need to right-click, rotate 90 degrees, and have them all go the other way. So that's a function there. So that's the select effects screen. That's a whole nother video in itself. That is your search toggle preset. So as I said before, I use preset effects. That's my Control P. So if I'm over here and I hit Control P, there is my effects presets box. I use that all the time. Toggle element expand. So what I believe that they're talking about, because I don't have this assigned, I believe that is a way for you to expand whatever element by, you can double click on an element and it'll expand it. I've never tried that, so I really don't know. But I've never assigned it. Unlock effect, that can be a shortcut. Update the color. So right here on your color palette, you have an update button. You also have an effect setting button that says update. You could, if you change the color, and there's a good reason to have this too, and I'll demonstrate why. Let's say I've created an effect, and let's say I put bars down, right? And we have this bars effect, and it's just going along doing its bars thing. We do a 3D fade on it, and what if we want to use the color dropper here, and we want to find like this yellow, and we want to make the sparkles a yellow color. We click on it, and then we turn up the sparkles. But now we don't like the yellow. Maybe we want it to be red. If we click on the red, notice how it doesn't update. You have to come over here and hit the update so that it's now red sparkles as opposed to yellow sparkles. So whatever it is, you still have to update it. That's where this color update would come in handy or helpful, because the sparkles don't update whenever you change their colors. That's just something in xLights. So having that update button would on a shortcut, I could see me activating that Control S for Control I don't know, L for update the colors. Then you have the same thing, the update effects. That would be this update button. So xLights renders whenever you click on an effect, xLights automatically renders it. There are times that you have it selected and it's not doing anything. And let's say we want to update the cycles. Now we want to see what it just did. We know it's selected even though it's stopped. We hit the update button and now you can see what it's doing. So that's not as common, because usually if you have an effect selected, you can see it live time as you make your changes to those functions. So that is the effect update and the color update. Canceling a render. So if you have a big long sequence and you're like, oh, just it's taking too long and you need to get off the computer because you need to do something else, you can always, if you hit the render button, you can always hit the escape key and that cancels the render. So I just canceled it there and by hitting escape. So that's a shortcut key. I don't know if anybody ever knew that. So you have toggle render. I don't know exactly what that would be for. That's you either, well, maybe you're rendering. Control R. I have a Control R for render. I'm pretty sure. Let's try that. Control R. Yeah, I have Control R as my shortcut for render, and that's a render all. Presets toggle. Again, same thing. I don't have that one set up. I'm not sure what the difference between that and the other one is. Value curves toggle and the color dropper toggle. I use these. I use these a lot. So these are the value curves droppers. And this is the color curve or color droppers. And ever since I sort of regret this, but I sort of don't. Ever since I asked Keith to add extra squares into here, it's kind of slowed xLights down a little bit, but I don't complain. You can set these up to toggle on and off if you use these frequently. I do use these frequently, so I've set them up here. So I use the brackets key, the control and the brackets key, and those things help me. Now let's see, view, Windows. Perspectives. Whoop, there we go. And I'll put my perspectives back. I'll go ahead and put this back on laptop view, and that should fix that back to how I usually do it. But that's, again, that's probably a function of why xLights can be a little bit stuttery, is because Keith added like a lot of these extra squares in here because we use a lot of colors when we're sequencing. So I'll move that out of the way. Marker spot. I have no idea what marker spot is. Oh, I do. I do know what marker spot is. Marker spot is the ability to create a shortcut in, let's say, a long effect. Let's go ahead and delete this. Oh, we can't delete it. We have to unlock, and then we can delete. There we go. That's what's nice about the lock and unlock feature. Let's say you had a sequence here, and we can hover over top of the time, not the timing, not the timing grid. If we're over the timing line, you hit right click. This is going to come up. It has to be over the time. Right click, and you can set a mark wherever you were right clicking. So let's say we scroll down further into the sequence, let's say down to here, and we hover over this and we put a marker, let's say number 1. So we have a marker for number 0 and number 1, and you can create a shortcut key that with the click of a button takes you to, that toggles you through these. And that's what these marks these marks can be used for, I believe. I think though, if we use period when we're on the timing line, let me open up another version of xLights real quick. But there's also let's see if it works with the sequence open. It'd be easier to demo that. Anytime now. Where is it? Where did you go, xLights? There we go. I think that's it. Which layout are we on? Let's go back to let's go to the original layout. Select folder. And what we'll do is open sequence. We'll go find something. We're not going to play anything. And why I want to use a song is because the song actually is long enough that I can display this. So I believe the shortcut key is mark spot is period. So if we hit the period key and then we hit the slash key, those two should tell me. So if I'm looking at this part of the song and I hit the period key, so I just hit the period at like the 35-second mark, okay? And now we scroll all the way over to another part of the song and we hit the slash key. Let's see. It should or doesn't. I tried it earlier. Something did work earlier. Return to spot. I'm pretty sure if we hit, well, that's the Mac version. Oh, control and period. Let's try that. Control period. Let's go back here to the beginning. Control and period. That was at the 5-second mark. Let's go back to the end of the sequence. Now we're at the 2-minute and 50-second mark. And if we hit control and slash, it takes us back to, and it actually lines us up with that around that time period where we were at before. There's the 5 minutes. So let's say we are here, 1:10. Let's see, 1 minute. We'll say the 1 minute. Control period. And then let's go back to the end and scroll right here, and I hit the control slash, and it takes us back to that 1 minute section. So that's kind of helpful if you're working between two sections and you're trying to line certain things up, like you have two choruses or two verses that you're sequencing. That would be helpful for that. But another thing, as I was showing you just a little bit ago, there are these marks that you can put across the top of your screen here. I believe xLights saves them with the sequence. I haven't used them in a very long time because I started creating timing marks up here to help outline my songs. So that kind of I realized I really didn't need them. But it's nice to have those kind of marks, and it's also kind of nice to know, hey, I want to remember to go back to this section. Where was that at? If I hit Control period, and now I scroll back to this side of the sequence, and oh, what section was I at? Oh, Control / now it takes me back there. So that's a nice little function. That definitely does work pretty good. And so audio. Why would we need to be able to change audio? Well, I'm on YouTube right now, and if I play certain music, they'll look at they'll look at what we're doing in our video, and they'll say, hey, you can't play that, and they could throw a copyright strike at you. You have no idea. So it might be important for me to have a shortcut to be able to quickly change the play speeds or the audio or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't look like there's an effect setting for volume, so that would be a nice little addition, but that's not really necessary. So yeah, so there's a couple shortcuts for that. If you are doing singing faces, I can see this audio full speed, and I can see audio at 1.5. I can see the audio being at half or a quarter being useful for those people who are using those for singing faces and trying to kind of nail those down. Prior tag and next tag. I think that's what these are in xLights. Let me go back over here. Oh, no, wrong one. This one. That's what these are. I think these are tags, and obviously you can delete them. But I think that you can cycle through the tags to find the tags quickly where you're working at different things. Let's see. So that basically walks through a number of the effects presets. Now, a while ago, the Florida Mini, a couple years back, it was a great idea. Ed Smith had that. To do it, and I don't have it right here where I can hold it up and show it to you, but there was a mouse pad that was created with a bunch of shortcut keys that were built into xLights, and that while it's nice to have that, it's nice because it's an xLights thing, but you can come in here and you can create your own xLights preset shortcut keys. What I'm going to try to do is after I get this video finalized and we get this up on the website, I will probably load my version of my key bindings file so you can download it and add it to yours, or replace yours with mine, and then you could have something that's already pretty much pre-filled in with a lot of things already. That way you don't have to spend the time. But if you like doing stuff like this, setting these up, it's not really hard to go through and do this. All you're doing is click add effect or add apply settings or add preset, and taking your time to go through and add all of those. But knowing that you can come in here and create any preset key binding. The only thing that you're limited to, obviously, is the numbers and letters on the keyboard and how many times you can use Control, Alternate, or Shift, or if you're on Mac, you use the Mac OS Control. And to be able to reliably remember all of those settings. So, again, I sequence with xLights, practically every day. I'm inside xLights, and I can tell you that just clicking on anything and knowing that if I hit the letter A, that's my shortcut for arches or single strand effect. So or M for morph, that's built in, or P for pinwheel, or G for garland, or H is for shimmer. Capital H is for the spirograph, or Y. Capital Y is for meteors, which hopefully I'll remember now because I always want to remember it and I never do. I think another one is, where's it at? Oh, look. I think maybe it's time to end the video here, guys, because I just crashed xLights by hitting too many shortcut keys. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll give give everybody a break for the night. That's enough BS and talking. But in any event, there's a lot of helpful, hopefully useful information that you can see available in the key bindings file. If you have any questions, by all means, go ahead. I don't see anything, unfortunately. The YouTube screen isn't showing me any questions, so if you commented, I didn't see anything. I do see Rich Berry out there. Hi, Rich. If you're on Facebook, I don't have Facebook chat up, but in the meeting questions, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we're going to end it here tonight. So huge thank you to everybody on YouTube. Huge thank you to everybody on Facebook. If you want to jump into the Zoom room, we're going to go to kind of our open question session now. If you have any questions, kind of prepare for those. And for all of you guys out there watching us live, thank you for joining us. We hope you appreciate the things we do here at Pixel Pro Displays. If you do, consider joining the PPD Sequence Club, where you get an awesome sequence each and every month. Huge thank you, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.